Yeah, we're live. Hi, guys.
Work out because, for example,
Hey, Di. Good to see you. Yeah. Di, I'm going to go 11 o'clock every day because it's only me and you for the first half hour. I'm okay with that, but a lot of videos the guys miss. So I'm going to go half an hour late as usual. I'll make that the usual time.
excuse me 1 second here. Okay, now we'll open a word of prayer. Lord, thanks for the day. Pray that you'll bless our time together today. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, as you might appreciate, there's a lot to discuss about, to talk about. I did do a interview with Brian Schrager from Israel with my friend from the UK, Mark Sutherland, on, I think that was Friday. We hope to follow up and do another one on Tuesday. Brian, as you know, lives in Israel. And so we're trying to get his perspective on, you may have heard that there were some things going on in Israel and Iran this week. And
Diane, I'll try and go at 10:30 a.m., but sometimes I've got things to do in the morning and I've got to duck down the shops. So sometimes I will be a half hour late, but I'll stick to the 10:30 start.
I always start my update week with trying to catch up on things that I want to talk about in the future. And then reality has a way of sort of intruding into that, particularly this week. And so I try to organize everything, but I will tell you that eventually I just give up because this week was probably the worst week. So anyway, so as you know, we talk about things in Bible prophecy here, and I think we're seeing a lot of things happening right now that are prophetically significant. I can't say that they're exactly fulfilling Bible prophecy, but they certainly are in the really serious stage setting things. So this week we're seeing a lot of things, and there's a lot of dispute in the Bible prophecy community. Are the seals opening? Are they already open? They have to open at a certain period of time. I'm sort of taking an open view on this. I think that, as with most Bible prophecy, the declaration that this is that which is a fulfillment of the prophecies of the Bible is going to be something we'll be able to say looking backwards, not necessarily looking forward and saying this is exactly how it has to work out. Because, for example, this week we saw a bit of a dust up between Israel and Iran. And we know that in Ezekiel 38:39, it talks about Persia coming in. That's clearly Iran. I mean, that's really one of the ones in Ezekiel 38:39 that's easy. Persia, and then the regions of Turkey. So we know Turkey and Persia for sure. And then we argue about Russia and that type of thing. And so, but, the question is, how does this play into it, say, a future Ezekiel 38 and 39? And is this Ezekiel 38 and 39? And I think pretty clear that it's not, but it certainly shows the tension there. But how does that change if the Iranian regime falls? Which is a distinct possibility. I think that's the goal of a lot of people. So I'm going to try to, so I'm going to go through some of the things this week that happened. And then I have one thing at the end that's something sort of related but off topic, but related to everything we talked about. I also want to remind you, so there'll be I will be doing a thing with Brian Schrager this week. Probably will be doing some others. I know Thursday at, I think it's 3:00 Eastern. I'll be doing something with Kurt Reed on his YouTube channel. And I'm sure some other things will come up in the meantime. And also on June 25th, a week from Wednesday, at 7 p.m. Eastern, we'll be doing although it might start at 7:15 because I have another obligation.
Diane, when I hang up on my laptop, it says for argument's sake, 45 views. When I hang the stream up and go to my laptop and reboot it, it's a quarter less. Whatever I got, they shave a quarter off my viewers. And I've been stuck on 316 to 320 for a year. They must be really burying my stuff. I've tried to look up how souls are created, and you really got to look for that. They really bury my videos deep, and I can't leave my AusD code anywhere because they threaten to take my channel. Why would they do that if it's nonsense? But yeah, gee, I get a hard time of them. It makes you want to give up sometimes, to be honest.
That keeps me occupied until 7 p.m. May start at 7:15, but that will be a prophecy roundtable on technocracy, transhumanism. And the thing that I'm talking about at the end, that will probably come up, and I think you'll see why. And I'm almost certain that I don't usually say this because everybody's talking about the same thing.
He's going to glare, guys. I won't be able to get rid of this glare. He's got too white a background. I'll see if I can now.
I'm pretty sure nobody else is going to be talking about this last thing that I'm talking about today. So you have to stay all the way to the end. You saying no with your mouth, but your heart, you'll be staying. So it seems like the one thing that's interesting about this time that we're alive is that the speed of things happening warps time. So, for example, when was it that Israel launched an attack on Iran? It was Thursday, right? Thursday night. But it seems like it was like a week ago, right? Because there's so much that's happened in the interim in the response of Iran. So this is from Israel Hayom's paper this morning. And this is just sort of a summary of all the papers around the world and what they're talking about. This attack between Israel attacked Iran. And you can see there the map in this.
Okay, this is only 9 hours old.
Center, the places that were attacked. It was a stunning operation. So I'm going to probably repeat myself a little bit as I go through this. It was an amazing operation. It had some hallmarks of the operation that Ukraine did against Russia. And we know from the attack that Ukraine did against Russia a couple of weeks ago now, or a week ago. I don't remember, was it a week or 2 weeks ago? I think it was 2 weeks ago. That it was a pretty amazing operation. It had been in planning for 18 months. They were able to assemble drones and even manufacture drones in Russia and transport them close to the bases, because there's a couple things about drones. Drones are a huge change in warfare, and they're making warfare very asymmetrical, but there are limitations on drones. Drones generally, particularly if you're putting a heavy payload on them. So think of the DJI drones that you see down at Best Buy or other electronic stores, and you put explosives package on there, it's going to limit how far that drone can fly. So you have to get the drones close to the bases. So in the case of the Ukraine attack on Russia, they had to have some of those drones within 2 kilometers, that's 1.2 miles of the target. then they have to figure out the logistics. Okay, how are we going to get them there? How are they going to be fresh? How are we going to do this by stealth? So what Ukraine did was they set up a trucking company, and it appears that they also set up a defense manufacturing company within Russia. And they used people that were intelligence assets that don't like the Russian regime and want to help Ukraine. So they exploited that, and it appears they got a lot of people to do this. And some people may have been doing things and they didn't even know what was in the truck they were driving. I mean, it's sort of like you go to the store, your wife is in shopping, she brings all the bags out to the car. You don't know what's in there.
Possible.
You just trust that she's not, planting a bomb in your car, right? And usually that's the case, but we know that things can change rather rapidly in a relationship of that kind. And I'm not referring to myself by any stretch of the imagination, but the stealth nature of modern warfare is pretty amazing. So we had a big example of this back last September, October. It seems like it was years ago now, doesn't it? The Beeper attack, where Israel took out a huge number of Hezbollah fighters. Israel had also begun decapitating the Hezbollah leadership. They decapitated the Hamas leadership. And there's always people to replace them. That's not the issue. But the issue is the people who've been organizing these things for a long time, all of a sudden they're gone. And that puts a big hole in their operational capabilities. So Israel planned, for example, in the case of the Beeper attack, 60 Minutes did a pretty good video on it, or a segment on it. That thing had been planned for 10 years. They had operatives. They set up a company to get Hezbollah to buy these things. They then had to manufacture them. They had
more flash flooding, Diane. You know what I say about that? As in the days of Noah.
To change one.
Yeah, you're getting a lot of riots, aren't you?
The batteries to a stealth part of the Beeper to include explosives that would cause damage. And they also thought it through that, listen, if we had these guys with the beepers, it's very likely that the only people that are going to be hurt when these things explode are the people that are using the beepers. That would be people at Hezbollah and others. But what happened was that it appeared in the Beeper case, the case of the beepers, was that the plot was about ready to be exposed. Some people were questioning, I believe, like, why is my battery not lasting that long? And so before people started tearing apart the beepers to find out what was wrong and discovering that there was explosives in there, Israel had to act. So that operation planned for 10 years. By most estimates of what I've seen is the operation that took place this week.
Wow, they planned that for 10 years. That's impressive. The Jews play a long game, don't they?
Using people on the ground inside Iran, Mossad agents and other assets that they had developed over time had been in the planning stages for 20 years. So when we talk about, the phrase that I use a lot when we look at some of these things in Bible prophecy and in the world today, is it's gradually then suddenly. These things are planned, they're instituted, they're built up gradually, but then there's a sudden phase. And this week, we saw a lot of sudden phases. So Israel attacked bases. They used stealth fighters, F-35s and other fighters, I think 200 fighter jets. They refueled them. There's been refueling operations taking place, I've heard, over Syria, even refueling operations taking place over Iran. There are videos of that. And what does that tell you? If you're refueling, we had a friend that on the weekends, he was in Air Force Reserve, and he would fly tankers out of Rickenbacker Air Force Base down the south side of Columbus. Where'd you go this weekend? Saudi Arabia, India and, Greenland. And that's what because they put these things in the air, and it's a giant fuel tank. And so it uses the fuel there too. So
Hey,
it can
Talia,
fly
good to see
forever,
ya.
it seems like. I mean, they would fly 20,000 miles before they came home. They're in the air forever. But when you're refueling something over a country that has, at least you think might have, air defenses, you're not likely to put a big giant fuel bomb up in the sky up there, because you hit it and it blows up. And it goes boom really big. And it's a very big propaganda victory for the country that shoots it down. But the fact that Israel was doing refueling, and in some cases it's reported that American refuelers were being used by Israel to refuel the fighter jets. And so Israel engaged, I don't know how many sorties they ran. I don't have all the statistics on that. If you go to INSS, I think it's .org or .org.il, it's Institute for National Security Studies, the think tank in Israel. They've got a very good map of everything. The Institute for Study of War also has their blog site is understandingwar.org. And there's any number of places you go, you can find the maps. And we've had this stunning
It's
operation.
glaring again.
Israel doing this, it's 1,000 miles at least. The fighter jets can't fly there and back, so they have to be refueled. But then they come back, they're refueled in air, but they have to come back and get more bombs. I was asking a friend who was a fighter pilot in Vietnam yesterday, I said, how much could you carry in your fighter jet when you flew bombing runs up to North Vietnam? And by the way, he told me, it was 58 years ago yesterday, he got shot down in North Vietnam. It's been 6 years at the Hanoi Hilton. And he had volunteered for one more mission. He did not have to do it. He volunteered for one more mission before he was to come home. And it cost him 6 years of his life. But he said, I think he said about 13,000 pounds, depending if it's full of fuel, it's, 13,000 pounds of explosives or munitions that you can carry. Now, munitions have changed a lot. The explosives are better than they were back 58 years ago, but it's still logistically, it's a very difficult thing. You've got to get the thing there, then you got to come back, you got to reload and go back. So even at, if the jet's flying 600 miles an hour, it gives the other side time to, they're going to come back. We can kind of figure out how to come back. So you can see Israel focused mostly on underground nuclear facilities, air defense systems, air bases. There was an air base in the northwest of Iran that was attacked. And there were some nuclear facilities attacked. My understanding is that the nuclear facilities have been damaged in many cases. But for example, some were not attacked. There's a big nuclear plant at Bushehr that would be located, that would be down here along the Persian Gulf. In the Bushehr plant, and historically in biblical times, that would have been the area known as Elam.
Yeah, he did.
So there's a prophecy in Jeremiah chapter 49 about Elam. So you can see right here is Bushehr.
Okay.
And so everybody this week, there was a lot of talk. Is this the fulfillment of the Bible prophecy?
Talia, did he actually mention Mike from around the world?
Of Elam. So in the Bible prophecy community,
I'd rather see what Mike from around the world's got to say. We can come back to this, guys. Must be important if you come on early. I'll just look it up. Right, Paul Begley, let me look it up. That's what's good about being a DJ. You can pick what you want. Paul Begley. Middle East, marking around the world 56 minutes ago. And guys, just let me find when Mike comes on.
Are you serious? Welcome to the Coming Apocalypse. I'm Pastor Paul. Canada and the United States.
Hang on, guys.
Day summit, Turn of Legion. Demons are loose. Okay? That's right.
Okay.
Go through the teaching of it in an outline that
Got it.
put together this incredible workbook that coincides with the brand new book, Zombie Apocalypse. You can get the books that I have at my.
It coincides with the brand new book, Zombie Apocalypse. You can get the book that I have at my website right now. You can order it. I wrote that book 13 years ago, and now we're going to update and give you a revised
It's the only book he's ever done, and he never stops flogging it.
version, a new book on it. A lot has happened, plus a lot of teaching. So check that all out, guys. Get your tickets now, okay? Tonight's a good night to get it because as soon as you get your ticket, you can download your workbook, okay? And you'll have that PDF. It's free. You can download that as soon as you get your ticket. It comes with your ticket, okay? So order that. Be ready. People love these Super Saturday teachings. I'm doing these every couple months or so. Demonology, boy, if there was ever a time we're going to talk about it, it's now. Don't touch your computer. It's not broke. Mike, I just lost a tooth. Mike, you there?
I'm here.
Okay, sorry about that. I had my phone for you charging. Good to have you, Mike. Thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule to be with us tonight.
Yeah, it seems like everything happened at one time. Huh?
It did. You know, you were with us Thursday night when the war broke out. But
Yep.
Wow. You know, we had the war going on. We had the assassination of these lawmakers in Minnesota. We still ain't caught the guy. We have an earthquake. It hit Lima.
That's his fault. He's not moving. There's a bit of a glitch. It's not my fault.
Peru tonight that's caused landslides. We know one person's dead, but I think it's going to be more. And, we haven't even caught the guy that did the assassination. We had the big parade in Washington. We had the 2,000 protests across America. Mike, what is going on?
Those protests are about to grow big time.
Oh, I was hoping it was going to fizzle out. I was hoping it would fizzle.
It is just beginning. And most disturbingly, Turkey is backing Iran.
Yes, you're right. You're right. Matter of fact, I just got this tweet. The one of Iranian's top officials that are left, most of them are dead, had just said, we want to form an Islamic army with Turkey, Saudi
New Jersey's a borough of New York, isn't it, Diane?
Arabia, and Pakistan,
I haven't got any credit card debt. I got cash, thank God.
and several other armies if they would join. So are you saying Turkey is going to join them?
Yeah, they're backing them right now. They're backing them up. They're not the only ones. Turkey has a sway over the Islamic kingdoms, period. And so we see that coalition forming, and we discussed. So that's you got Turkey in there. You have Sudan and those places in Libya, certainly Yemen.
Yep.
All those armies will get together. And I'll tell you something.
Yep.
Israel cannot defend against all of those people, and they know it.
They can't. No.
They cannot do it. They'll
I've heard that before in the '67 war. Look what happened then.
be overrun in a heartbeat. And so this is what we're seeing. So the chatter is high, commitments are being made, and it seems like Iran, this has really bolstered a lot of Islamic motivations to attack Israel once and for all.
So, Mike, let's talk about this. You got Iran, who looks like they can get those ballistic missiles through. They can get some of them to get past the Iron Dome, the David Sling.
Guys, I'll come back into this. He's not moving. I don't know why. His ticker tape's moving underneath him, so it's not my fault. There it is.
The David Sling,
Uh-huh.
the Patriot
No,
program,
still
and
no
you got the
movement.
FAD. And so you got Iran. If you add Turkey to the mix, they have nukes. And then you already got, like you said, Sudan, Ethiopia, Yemen. If you add Russia in there, you've got Ezekiel 38.
Yeah, that's not only Ezekiel 38, but also Daniel 11.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're seeing it. It's like we're looking at it.
What is Trump at this point? He's trying his best to bring peace, and he's trying his best to stay out of this thing. But how do we stay out of this?
It depends on.
Diane, when I was battling for a quid, there was this mob that lent you money and you didn't need any credit score or anything like that. But let's just say you borrowed, it was called payday lenders. Let's just say you borrowed $200. The interest on that, it comes back to like $320. So you pay a lot more. Well, they done a class action against these guys and we won, and I ended up getting refunded a few $100. But yeah, it was a lesson on not to go near credit cards.
How it escalates.
Okay.
And that's what it depends on. If Israel can handle it, then good. He'll stay out of it. But if they begin to hit Western assets, it's over.
We'll come.
But I'll tell you something.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will. But this is one of those moments. The world is going to see exactly who can do what, because not always technology cannot always save the day.
Mm-hmm.
Then technology is good.
Yeah,
but
there's more.
It can always save the
Yeah.
day. That's right. It can always save the day, and I do suspect that we're.
Diane, I got caught up for about 2 years borrowing off them.
I see some entanglements
They really take advantage of the vulnerable.
in the Middle East. We're going to see some escalations. People are already talking about defense of the East Coast and our defenses on the West Coast today.
Are you
As far as missile defense
for us?
for us, for the USA? That's right.
What's your thoughts on Turkey? Do you think, I know Erdogan hates Israel. I mean, I know.
That's the show.
What's your
Hang on,
thoughts?
babe.
Do you think they will
I need some
join
pills.
forces
I'll
and,
go myself.
and actually
Hang on.
enter in and start fighting Israel? I mean, coming at it from another direction.
Well, let's put it this way. Turkey has had emergency calls for the last 2 days. Today, they were calling upon all of the Islamic forces to back Iran immediately.
Oh no.
How about that? Yep.
Oh no.
Today. So, yeah, they're really about to make a move. So this thing could be, we could be sitting at that hour where these decisions are made, where people are about to see some real biblical prophecies come to pass.
Do you think, Mike, that this could even work its way into World War III?
Yeah, but you know what? When they hit Iran,
Yeah.
to me, that is confirmation of World War III. Because once you hit Iran, because of their pride, because of the dynamics of that place now in the media, you're going to hear people say, well, Iran is changing their tune. People should be hearing this almost right away. And they're going to hear somebody's going to come out and say that.
Do you know what, Diane? I couldn't manage money when I was broke. I couldn't afford to do anything with my money. Now I am. I do have money. I'm careful. I'm not careful with it. I just don't blow it on stupid things. Where before, when I was into the drugs and that, I probably would have blew the lot.
Well, from this point forward, there's nothing anybody can say to bring them to a table and keep them at a table. See, right now, Iran would lie. They would lie and do anything they could do to get close to Israel to take them out.
Right.
Right now. And you have the people. Israel is actively calling on the people of Iran to raise up against the regime. And you have those in the regime. You have a lot of supporters of the Iranian regime, which is they are ready to go to war with Israel, right? They're ready to really fight them. And so Turkey is also involved in that.
Yeah, this is not good. This is not good. So,
no.
And then if Turkey does enter this thing, there's some smaller nations, Islamic nations, that will also join in. Which ones would you identify?
Yeah, if you have Turkey, remember Turkey also.
I'd say all of them surrounding Israel.
That is, you're going to have Syrian-based elements that will join in, right?
Yeah.
Because here's the declaration. If Israel ever starts a war in the Middle East, it's important that all Islamic forces join hands to go against Israel. Now you're talking about a faith war. And so
Diane, I was on the pension, and I remember once, because I used to take pills as well, and I was on pills, and I went to the hop shop, the pawn shop, and I bought a saxophone for $300. I smoke. I'm never going to get my lungs to do a saxophone, but that's how stupid I was on pills.
This becomes, and it quickly is becoming a faith war, right?
Yeah.
There's no policy in the Western world that would work to solve anything that they're doing, because you're looking at Pakistan, right?
Yeah.
Joining forces. You're looking at most nuclear, some of these Middle Eastern nuclear forces joining hands, and they will, under Iran's direction, begin to attack certain people. And we are going to be
Talia, I sold it to my nephew for $300 worth of edibles, if you know what I mean. Guy calls them edibles.
Number one.
Yeah. Which we know this. I mean, we've heard this.
That's why the defense nets are fully activated. Yeah.
Yeah, big Satan and little Satan, and but boy, I tell you, if Turkey joins them, and Pakistan certainly will too, and like you said, Syria and some others, will join.
Yeah.
And this isn't a good thing, folks. And how can the United States fight off all of these along with Israel? How in the world do we? I mean,
there would be casualties.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
Well, let me give you a scenario. Right, without nuclear weapons, they could actually they have a selection of about 60 or so different types of weapons they could use to launch chemical munitions in the northern hemisphere, and that would tie us up for a long time.
I don't think they're going to use chemical warfare like that. I think they're quite happy with the jab.
Right, so they can absolutely put a halt to everything. They can actually launch a chemical weapon at Israel. Maybe it hits 2,500 feet above Israel, taken out by Patriot Systems, THAAD, or some sort of ballistic intercept.
Yeah.
And it will still affect everybody in Israel. Once you start utilizing chemical weapons, everybody suffers, right?
Yeah.
So at that point, you have a massive degradation in the war machine.
Hey, Bas, good to see you, bro.
They're going to be used. I can almost guarantee that they're going to be used.
Which one? Biological weapons?
Chemical biological.
Yeah, chemical ones. Yeah.
Chemical biological weapons are going to be, I can almost guarantee you, because you're looking at massive underground stockpiles of chemical biological weapons in Iran, in Turkey. in Yemen, all throughout the Middle East, and certain underground cache nets. So it could really turn ugly real quick. And if that happens, there's no way we can enter into a chemically held territory and start fighting normally. You can't do that. There are certain preparations you have to take, and it's going to depend largely upon the weather.
Now, I know President Trump is going to Canada. I think he's already there for the G7. You got Germany's in there, you know, the UK, European Union, you know, Japan, Italy, what have you. But what's going to be what are they going to talk about? I mean, are they?
They're already talking about the Middle East.
They got to.
Germany is a target right now. Europe is a target right now.
Yeah.
And they, depending on how the wind is blowing, right, that will make chemical weapons a go or no go. That's going to be based upon the weather. Either way, this could turn into something nasty real quick. I mean, very quickly.
You think Iran would drop drop chemical weapons on the Israeli people?
Yeah, if they get the backing, they sure would. In a heartbeat. That according to their faith. See, if this turns into a fake war, here's what they believe.
We'll lose.
Just as we believe in Christ, a strong belief in Christ and the Ten Commandments and things like that, they believe that with their deity, they must have America on fire and Israel must be on fire.
It's the Catholics and the Muslims that are going to persecute the Christians. Trust me on that. What, doggy? Why are you crying?
To please their deity.
What are you crying for, you silly dog?
They're not going to have when you're dealing with a faith war, that overcomes that empathetic, that empathetic notion that people may have that will stop them from going forward with certain deeds. But if a person believes that their God demands it, right, and that's how they're going to be compliant, they're going to have no problem doing that.
Mike, okay, so this is, we're at I think about Revelation 9:11. I think about Apollyon coming out of the pit, and he unleashes 4 more demons out of the river Euphrates, and it really creates what it's called in the Bible the 6th trumpet war. I think it really creates World War III. It starts in the Middle East, but we've already got.
If I tell him that, Diane, he'll stow away on a ship and come to your place.
Got a war going on with Russia and Ukraine, so Europe is already in war. I mean, does the American people understand the danger that we're in as a country? The USA is also in.
Talia, I've been debating Catholic sites, and I'm telling you, if you're not a Catholic, you are a heretic Lutheran, and you deserve to be. I'm telling you, I can easily see how the Spanish Inquisition started because the Catholics really defend their faith, and they're really vicious. They're not horrible to say. They're not nice people.
Do we understand it?
No, because America has a seat, a very dark chair is in America. No, they don't understand. Think about this. What makes America uphold some of the trash that they uphold all the time? If you really give it thought, America's responsible for upholding garbage, right?
Right.
And influencing garbage. Why? Why is that still ongoing? Who in the world is permitting this massive immorality in this country? These things are not by accident, they're by design.
So let me ask you. So we have a war going on in Europe, a war now definitely in Middle East, and we are in danger. And we got 2,000 different locations protesting against our current president. I mean, America's in trouble. We got to unite. Right. We got to unite, don't we?
It would be a beautiful thing if we could. I believe that rests upon the backs of believers. Pastor Paul, if you notice something, Satan cannot get his final plan in place if you cannot break the backs of believers. Now, if you take notice, every single time Satan has an opportunity to divide believers, right after he does that, he goes for the world.
Yeah,
Because we're the covering for the world.
you're right.
That's why we're here. And
You're
if
right.
he can cause us to begin to exercise some of his minions, it's almost like a person rebuking a spirit. A person can say, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus all day, but if they entertain what that spirit is offering, right?
Right.
They're not rebuking. It's an instant nullification of anything coming out of their mouth.
You're right.
And so in the body of Christ, if we're in the practice of division by way of our activities and things of that nature, there's no way we can rebuke division. And so Satan can prosper division in this country.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
See? So that's what we're facing. And there's just too many who can't they can't see that. They can't see it. Like most things, Satan, he works in these small, tiny steps that seem so insignificant until they take hold. Before you know it, it's kind of like mold. You see a spot here, spot there, no big problem. I'll get it later. You forget about it because it's so insignificant. You come back 2 weeks later and now you have to move out because mold is taken over.
Yeah.
Right? That's how Satan operates. And he's doing the same thing with us. But if we were to combat division, and what I mean by that is not letting division work in ourselves, in our homes, among our members, we would be in a standing rebuke against division, and all forces of division that are in this country would have to vacate.
Do we have
Because we'd have a standing rebuke.
But
We'd live that rebuke.
I agree with you 1,000%, Mike. But don't we also already have sleeper cells of division already here?
We do.
And those people don't care about anything about America. They are anti-Americans. Don't we have a lot of those already here?
Yeah.
Yeah, and here's how that works, just so people understand this. Sleeper cells are comprised of individuals. Many are born here in the USA.
Yeah.
They have been indoctrinated.
Radicalized. Right? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. They have been, it's not based on nationality either. But because you have many people here who are Americans, Caucasians, Black, whatever you want to call them, but they're loyal to these different factions. And they've been taken care of. It's kind of like a gang. When the parents of a family do not love the child in these gang-infested areas, then you have these gangs that adopt your children, and they'll show compassion to your kids. All of a sudden, the kid is loyal to the gang.
Yeah.
Same thing happens with these sleeper cells, and so you have them living here. You're talking about kids from the age of 4 being indoctrinated into an organization from the age of 4 who live in this nation. Many of them right now are up there in their 30s and 40s right now. And you're talking about, they had a count of 800 sleeper cells during the time prior to Obama. They had more after that. And in each cell, there had to be at least each cell, right? Had to be at least probably about 6 to 20,000. I'd say 6 to maybe 10,000 members per sleeper cell.
Whoa.
They've lost count of those. When Donald Rumsfeld, when his issue of the money missing popped up, that's when they lost count of the sleeper cells, and they stopped hunting for them. They had accountability, but they took it into another facility. Nobody can talk about that anymore. But they're right here in this country. These folks can be activated at any given time.
Yeah.
Any given time.
Who are they devout? Who are they answering to?
Well, they're devout to whoever leads that specific organization. They are devout to. They're devout to that. So they could be activated by foreign entities. Foreign powers, any type foreign powers, even powers within this country. You'd be surprised how twisted the web is inside this country.
Oh, I know.
How would you like to find out that your favorite representative is in fact a leader who has a chair at a foreign table, right, in a foreign government?
Yeah.
That would be gut wrenching. But you have things like that happen. So when they activate, because I believe they're on the move. I believe they set up something. They've been setting up something for the last 10 years. 10 years they've been perfecting something, and they're going to spring it. When they do spring it, people are not ready for it because all they care about is entertainment and garbage and
Right.
Things like that.
Right.
They're not vigilant enough. That's why if Christians, if we don't catch it, nobody else has protection from it.
Do you think, Mike, and we've had some government insiders have actually contacted me and Heidi and have warned us about potential plague or pandemic, whatever you want to call it, being released.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that?
Well, that now, not to seem biased, but most of your doctors in this nation are foreign doctors, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Most of your folks that work in level 4 facilities, lots of foreigners work there, and all those foreigners are not devout to the USA. They openly bash the USA, and they work in high level positions, right? So they have access to contagions. I mean, at any given time, you have people who go into level 4 facilities. They go in and out, and nobody has true accountability over them. There's also a lot of missing vials in this country. Those articles pop up like 20 vials went missing last year. Year before that, 10 vials. Year before that, I believe it was 41, something to that count. And then nobody cares. After about 2 days, nobody cares. Nobody cares about the missing vials of contagion.
Nobody follows up on it. The media doesn't even report on it. Right.
No. And so, but that doesn't mean that the vials have dissipated and gone away.
No.
So they have those, right? They have been planning something for the USA. It's been in coordination with Iran for a long time. Right.
Oh, with Iran. Whoa.
It's been in coordination with Iran for a long time.
So you're saying Iran is involved. I'm sure other nations too. I think China, you got to say, are involved with maybe these missing vials. Iran, would they
You'd
use?
be surprised how many times nefarious activities within this country go right back to Iran. You'd be surprised. You
Well,
would be shocked.
they're the one nation that has said death to America, death to Israel, or death to
Yes.
Israel, death to America, little big Satan, little Satan. They're the one country that has been, they've not backed down from that. Other countries join in the bandwagon and jump off. But
Absolutely.
Iran, you're right. Iran has never backed down from that position. They're
That's right.
They have a doctrine. They are Shiite Muslims. They're not Sunnis. They have a doctrine of an apocalypse has to happen, that Israel has to
That's right.
burn or get wiped out or something. Am I right?
Well, both of us, big and little Satan, have to be on fire. And they're going to make that happen. And their life's purpose is to make that happen. They can't, in other words, they can't be effective against Israel until we are on fire. So I can almost guarantee you right now, they have people right now planning to compromise our nuclear facilities, planning to compromise various factories within the USA. Right now, I guarantee you they're trying this. I can guarantee that. And if we lose our vigilance for a few seconds, that's going to be enough. That's going to cost us quite a bit. And again, I'll bring it up. You know what I'm about to bring up, Pascal? How in the world can it be written in the Bible that Jerusalem is trampled underfoot 40 and 2 months in Revelation if the USA is standing up and in power? That can never, nobody can occupy Israel for 3.5 years with the USA in fully in charge.
No, you're right.
That just can't happen.
It can't happen.
So what happens to us that we cannot intervene for 3.5 years for Israel? That's my,
Yeah,
That should
well,
be
it's too.
everybody. That should be a deep
You
concern.
have been very consistent in bringing that up, and it's a very, very valid point, because we either have to be in a state of annihilation ourselves, or
What's the
under the
matter?
control of a cabal
The two is
that
crying
will
at
have
me. Knock
taken
it
over
off.
a different regime that refuses to support Israel. And I'm just going to ask a question. Imagine if Kamala and Tim Walz
What do you
were in the
want?
White House right now. Do you really think, with 2,000 protests going on
Stay
everywhere,
up here,
do you
Molly. I
really
don't want to
think
pick
they'd
you
be
up 20
standing with
times
Israel
as
right now?
well.
Well, it's a known fact. This is not biased, because I'm not biased, but it's a democratic ideology not to back Israel in war type affairs.
There it
That's a
is.
democratic policy. That's a policy. It's an actual policy.
So, Mike, that could. So, in other words, we could either be under fire, under assault, under a pandemic, under a nukes, or we could just be under the leadership of the other political party that really says we're not going to help Israel no matter what, and allows the rest of the world to go after. One or the other. Something happens for 42 months. You're right.
I'll tell you what, I have this strong notion that America is going to be so tied up within itself,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if the powers in America are fractured,
Yeah.
if we have a civil war, and I believe let's go ahead and face it, it looks like we're just,
Oh
we
God.
keep inching towards that.
Yeah.
America's command structure is going to split up. This will effectively begin to, cause militaries and problems because they won't know who to take orders from.
Yeah.
And I believe that's what ties us up, right? I've noticed too, historically, before any nation changes for good, it's almost all the way confronted with some type of civil war. Always. It's almost like the Lord will have a country. A part of it is always purged in such things before it can truly stand up to its full height. Because if you have, it's just like our bodies. If the left side of our body worked against the right side, we wouldn't go anywhere, right? Our bodies have to be in perfect symmetry. In order for that to happen, though, you have to get rid of certain ideologies, and the only way that's going to ever happen is to wake the people up and bring the people forward again, because it never fails. The people start out with power. The people organize government. The people charge the government. The people put people in that government to govern things, but then the government takes over the people.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what
Every time this happens, a civil war of some sort of internal war starts, and then the people take back over again. They reconstruct everything, and the people start setting things up again. It's almost this cycle that never fails. Historically, the same thing happens over and over again, and it's always marked by men becoming women and women becoming men. It's the same thing historically over and over and over and over again, right before the fall of any nation, and then they get back together again, but they actually stand up in the end. I believe we're in the stages where our ideologies clash, where this clash is coming,
It's a little
and
suitcase.
I believe we're going to be totally tied up.
Don't like your space.
I
I
can
wish
see it
it's
happening more and more. It's only a matter of
like mental.
some sneakiness before they begin to undermine the authorities of the President of the United States. I keep hearing echoes of that in
Oh,
hallways.
she's not coming
You know,
back
that
in.
they're
I'll
going
be
to cut the
watching.
power of the
Now
President
listen,
of the
you're gonna
United
be
States.
listening.
So who's going to cut the
Yeah.
power? And we're not talking about through
Now, come on,
normal
dude. So
channels.
where are you?
No. We're talking about something.
Yeah,
This
go to the bed.
is something that
Come on.
I've only heard this in the last year and a half. That they're going to begin to cut the powers of the
Shut the door,
President
Mom.
of the United States.
Mike, well, to be honest with you,
There's Mum, guys.
I watched
Come on.
Joe Biden
Talking to the dog who's
shoved in
ignoring
the
her.
street. And I wasn't a Joe Biden fan at no.
But it shows you something.
But when I saw his party, shove him off the cliff,
Yep.
then I knew we had lost. What's happened was we have a government that has no respect for the office of the president.
Right.
That was a dangerous thing to see. I know some people on the right said, well, that's great. He was this, he was that. No, it's not great. It's the office of the presidency. And no matter who's in it, you can't just shove them off the ticket. They shoved him into the race. They propped him up. They hit him. They thought they could just get another 4 years out of this, of the auto pen presidency. And when he was finally exposed, they just shoved this. They threw this guy away like, moldy bread. It was so fast.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, oh my God, that means the presidency has lost its power.
Yeah.
No matter which one's in office.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And
That's actually a true and very good point.
they can, that only happens because of people. The people, they don't understand what they have built anymore.
Yeah.
The government, the people built the government. But now the government is ruling over the people. It was the government's never to rule over the people. The government is a representative and a voice of the people. And it's totally, it's just absolutely, inverted upside down. And this chaotic mess has come to a head. We're in that time we're in a birthing.
Yeah, we are.
A real birthing. And now we're starting to witness some of these long hidden things, but Pastor is just beginning, especially in the Middle East.
You're right.
It is just beginning. And how bad it's going to get, that cannot be gauged. That can't, because they know they're pulling out the big boy weapons are coming out in a couple of days. They already know that. And countries are being pressured to take a side, even today.
Is Iran, with just Iran alone, they've gotten past, and I'm sure tonight, I've got a link open right now, just watching, keeping an eye on what's going on. But is Iran got something else besides the ballistic missiles that they can pull out?
Absolutely.
I mean, I know
Iran, absolutely. You got to remember this. Iran is Russia, and Russia is Iran.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
I had a dream about that. I mean, I had a dream that Russia was pulling out these weapons, and when I saw in the dream was that there were American diplomats somewhere in an office, and when they saw that Russia was bringing out this new weapon, I looked at the young men and the men in the offices and the women, and the blood ran out of their face.
My mom looks like me. I don't look like her.
They passed out. They slid down the wall. Their faces went pale with fear. And so I remember talking about that, and I even showed a suit that the Americans would wear, and you said that suit is already created.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever this weapon was, it was something that's never been used in warfare, but they pulled it out. When they saw that they had to win, they pulled it out. What could that be?
Well, a lot of people, all they know is what's been popular, nuclear.
Yeah,
right? I'll tell you something. There's something.
Okay, as it stands, who out of the Democratic Party, who could take on any Republican president? How can they get back in their power with their history? I don't think they thought this through, because common sense people would never vote them in again. But now you got the 2,000 protesters, so who knows? Things are crazy, guys.
7 stages above nuclear. Nuclear would be like a
hang
caliber
on.
bullet compared to some of the modern day bullets that we have today. So nuclear has been around for a long time. They've gone past that a long time ago.
Yeah.
There are other weapons out there, right? Now, for example, there's a sound weapon that makes a nuclear weapon look like you're playing with a flower. Sound can melt all the soft tissues in your body.
That's not good.
That's what sound can do, right? So imagine
yeah.
sound there's no limitation on sound. There are also kinetic weapons that can do damage you wouldn't believe. Imagine if you knew of a bullet that could, now listen to this is a real bullet,
Okay.
a projectile that's a guided projectile about the size of a 5.56 millimeter. But imagine it can be guided, number one, and that whatever it hits, it'll go through that target and suck the rest of that target through the hole it just went through.
No, that's not
So imagine that. Imagine that. Imagine that. And you know, you're dealing with things like that. There are projectiles that will not slow down until they hit something. There are those type projectiles. You know, mankind has really developed things at the edge of the physics. They understand. But see, you have laboratories, they understand something.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll tell everybody to their face that man only understands about 0.5% of physics. And so every time you hear these popular people saying what cannot happen, it just simply means those popular people have no idea.
Yeah.
In fact, one scientist told me, he said in order for him to say, because they had a conversation about the speed of light, they said the speed of light's impossible for humans because humans can only observe light. He said, but you know, in order to stick with that, right, you would have to be very limited in your scope of understanding. He said, but there are things out there that have already gone far beyond that barrier. And so have we. That's what he said. He said we have to. Light, the speed of light is not a barrier. It's only a barrier to those who understand common physics, right? Just think of that. So they have things, Pastor Paul, that they shouldn't have made.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, period. But you can't unmake them. Once it's out there, it's out there.
Well,
and we're going to start seeing that.
Mankind's always looking for that ability to get the advantage over the other one.
We're going to start seeing this stuff because they have made quite a few things. And Iran is, again, I had to remind everybody, they have the best scientists in the world in Iran for a number of years.
And Iran is Russia, and Russia is Iran.
Uh-huh.
Mike, real quick, I know you came real quick. We had this assassination situation in Minnesota. We can't even catch the guy. It's feeling like that somebody was being sacrificed on behalf of this protesting, and the person who did the killing is now being protected. But am I on to anything here, or what's going on here?
Well, it kind of matches some of these things, these concerts that are going on.
Yeah.
Hey, sacrifices are real in America. They really are.
They are.
Sacrifices are real. And before every big event, you know, there's always that somebody's always giving up their position that way. But yeah, I suspect we'll see more of those. So that's not going to stop. That'll continue.
Yeah.
It's going to continue. There is an objective to put fear in leaders, and they're not going to stop till they achieve it. We also have those interactions with with the Mexican drug lords, people call them, right?
Right.
But in fact, what we're dealing with is just an armed, you know, as an armed nation, armed set of nations through that title of drug lords that are after us, and they made their declaration, and they've been making good on certain promises.
We've gotten I agree with you 1,000%. The drug lords it's really a terroristic nation that's now inside our nation. Are we going to see more assassinations of politicians?
Yes, we will. Yeah, we will. Yeah, I know it sounded weird. I said something. I'm not going to say it now, but I said something earlier this year, and I give a count of four of them. But yeah, we will see more. We will. It'll become one of those things that you know, it'll cause fear in other people, just like it did the time before with these attempts on people. You know,
yeah,
it'll cause fear.
How moved?
I pray that I believe Trump is strong enough to go through it no matter what.
Yeah.
But the people, the pastor, he's a man. He's doing one thing. The people are going to have to rise upon this.
And the church,
They're going to have to.
main thing, the church.
Well, the church commands the spirits that are influencing people to do what they do.
Amen.
And if the church could put a halt to it, but they've got to unify.
Yeah, you're right.
You got to unify.
Amen. Mike, I appreciate you coming on a Sunday night, taking a little time out of your very busy schedule. And I know, but we're in a critical moment. We're in a critical time.
We are.
And I know we'll be talking again.
Why did he do tonight specifically? There was nothing that made him go early than normal. Maybe Mike won't be here on Friday, and neither will Paul.
Thursday night, if not sooner. Who knows what could happen between now and then?
We got a small window, Pastor. They're getting together now. So that we will see. Yeah.
Just stay in touch. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Being with
God bless you, Pastor Paul. Is always an honor. Always.
The honor's mine. Thank you so much, Mike. Appreciate it.
All right. God bless.
Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Our topic today is massive arrest, bank seizures, and a new republic.
No.
And we're talking about a new republic, a new name, a new flag, maybe even a new constitution. How bad is it going to get? I don't know. Okay. These are the watch points. So the question is, now, as you're looking at this is actually the Friday the 13th program. Now remember that. So tomorrow, there's going to be the first ever military parade. Is it a setup to start massive arrests? And could that lead to banks seizing our deposits? I don't think it's yet. But what do I know, Also, are we about to get a new republic?
I'll tell you what, the heading of his ones here are massive arrests. If you think about what's going on, Trump's not going to back down. Is he going to start locking up the governors and that? I know he's threatened to, but is he really going to do that? Because they're giving him a really good excuse to lock them up.
King, a new flag, a new.
Hey, Shawnee, good to see you. How's your doggy?
Frankly, it's hard to think that's going to happen June the 14th, this Saturday. But I can't promise it's not going to happen, so we're going to talk about it. So what is a watch point? A watch point is a prophecy, or whether it's Bible or a modern person speaking of it, and it speaks of it or hints at it. News that doesn't necessarily speak about it, but it is logic to watch for it. For example, Trump's military parade. And by the time you're watching this, if it's Friday, it'll be Friday the 13th. A lot of interesting things about this. Okay. So what is June 14th? Well, it's Flag Day. It's also the first military parade. It's the 250th birthday of the U.S. Army, and it's Trump's 79th birthday. What are the chances? All of that could happen all the same day, all through the years. Oh, well, maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's everything. So, Trump's military parade, let's talk about it. News is not saying it is anything except just a simple military parade that we've never had in the whole lifetime of America. But four prophecies say that tanks are going to be one day rolling down Pennsylvania Avenue, that tanks were, quote, rolling through the streets. Another one says military will have to step in and seize control of our federal government. Another one says, I saw armored battalion of tanks, Humvees, and roof-mounted machine guns and armored personnel carriers with cannons go to the Capitol, the Supreme Court, White House. Is that going to happen? June the 14th? If you're watching this on a Friday, if you watch them every day, is it going to happen tomorrow? Is it going to happen this Saturday? Nah.
No, it didn't.
It could, right? Okay, so the president can't exactly get all of that military equipment, all of those people moving and getting them ready to roll down Pennsylvania Avenue unless he's got some kind of excuse. If he wants to keep it a secret, telling people we're going to have our first ever military parade just happens to be on Flag Day, just happens to be on Trump's 79th birthday, which happens to be after Friday the 14th, or Friday the 13th, excuse me. You remember Dmitri was told the fall of America will start with an internal revolution. I don't think it's the official start of it, the things in Los Angeles, but it's certainly leading to it. So when I say I think this is it, I think it's leading to it. Remember that Terry Bennett said the military will have to step in and seize control of the federal government. Is that what's happening here? Because if he signs the Insurrection Act of 1807, that's exactly what it will mean. Now, what's it talking about? The Posse Comitatus Act says that you cannot use U.S. military against U.S. citizens. But if he signs the Insurrection Act of 1807, it goes around that. And then, yes, the president can use military against U.S. citizens, not to mention illegal citizens or illegal immigrants. Okay, so here's the full text of the Jack Rigney Dream, at least just the paragraph of it. I saw an armored battalion of tanks, Humvees, and rope-mounted machine guns, armored personnel carriers, and cannons going to the Capitol, Supreme Court, and the White House. Army personnel disarmed all the Secret Service men, guards, police guarding those buildings. Then the Army personnel went back in all three different buildings and took whatever they wanted. Oh, Stan, that'll never happen. Well, I don't think so. I think it's going to happen. Can I guarantee it's going to happen this Saturday? No, I can't. But I can certainly guarantee it's the best time for it that I've seen in my lifetime. He saw military takeover, temporary take control of the nation to arrest the evildoers and the wrongdoers, and that's the way the Constitution would have it. Under certain circumstances, the military can step in and take temporary control of the nation. Remember the Revelation, Jeremiah 51 says we would have healed Babylon, but she would not be healed. So that means that at least there is an attempt for America to heal and to cleanse itself. The problem is it just doesn't work. And the reason it doesn't work is because half of the nation is communist, as we've seen according to the election. Pentagon to deploy about 700 Marines to LA. Now, I read this a couple of days ago.
They're all on my
But
bed.
the point I want to make is now it says that there's 700 Marines deployed to Los Angeles. They're saying that they're not carrying any live ammunition in the rifles. They're only carrying the rifles and ammunition on them, but they're not actually putting ammunition into the rifles. And he's also doubled the number of National Guard troops from 2,000 now to 4,000. Okay, so if you were going to attempt to arrest a bunch of bad people, and you didn't want to alarm them until the arrests and the people are being arrested were pretty close to being rounded up, what would you do? You got to have an excuse. The excuse just happens to be that all of a sudden, the ICE people, the people supposedly got tired of them rounding up illegal aliens, and so they started protesting, which gave them authorization to move in now 4,000 National Guard troops and authorization to move 700 Marines, but they're only using them to just protect the federal buildings. 700 Marines to just protect federal buildings? Or could it be it's actually about to be massive arrest time? I suspect it's massive arrest time. I'll show you. So let's talk about the massive arrest. No, I'm not talking about illegal aliens. You recall 11/11/2019, back when Trump was in the first time. He was getting off this helicopter, and of course, the reporters went up and gathered around him as they always do. This was part of what he said. I typed it up. I think in light of all the things going on, you know what I mean by that, the fake news, the Comeys of the world, all the bad things that went on, it's called the swamp. I caught them all. Let's see what happens. And nobody could have done that but me. I caught all of this corruption that was going on, and nobody else could have done it. Okay. Okay. So he says he caught them. He says he caught them back in 2019, right? He said, I caught them. What's happened? We haven't seen a lot of the bad guys arrested yet. Now, there's more. If you go to December 20th, if you look up Executive Order 13818, go ahead, look it up. Here it is. This is the text of it. Now, what it says is blocking the property of persons involved in serious human rights abuse or corruption. So what is it? It's saying that if you have done sexual abuse or human trafficking or drug abuse or some kind of abuse like that, or you're involved in corruption, not only can they arrest you, but they can confiscate all of your property. Well, that would kind of pay for a whole lot of things in America, wouldn't it? You can read it. There it is. That's proof he has the authority to do what apparently he's about to do. And I've been talking about this since, well, I guess it's probably January of 2018, probably the first program I put out on it. Anyway, you can look it up. Anyway, let's go on. Then, as further confirmation, 9/7/24, when it was out on the rally circuit last year, he said this: with your vote, the election, they're lying, cheating, thieving, hoaxing, and plotting. With your vote, it'll come to an end. It's going to come to an end. We're going to cash out the corrupt political class. We're going to restore our republic. Okay, well, we're going to cash out the corrupt political class. We're going to restore our republic, and we're going to drain the swamp, and we're going to do it once and for all. We're going to get it done. There's three things he promised. Now, when would you say would be the best time to do that? After a bunch of troops, Marines, National Guard have already been called out? After they're going to be having a military parade, and what happens if in the middle of the parade, it doesn't exactly follow the planned route, and instead it goes over to the Capitol, Supreme Court, and the Congress, and it goes in and it arrests people just
That's a big leap, Stan. Come on, mate.
like the prophets have been told. There's more. Then, August 27, 2024, in an interview, he said, Trump declares war on crooked and dishonest
Wow.
Washington. Where is the military parade? It's Washington. Dishonest Washington establishment, they're going to be held accountable. Now let's talk about banks. Because the prophecy, at least one prophecy, says that it's all linked together. This is only part of some of the prophecies. Banks confiscate all deposits. Phones displayed empty balances. ATMs were offline. Even credit cards were being declined in the stores. I didn't understand what it was, seeing it first. Then Jesus said, this is the fall of the global system. Okay, now, why would I think that the global system would fall? Okay, well, 2 weeks ago, Trump called the Federal Reserve Chairman, Jerome Powell, to the White House. And apparently, according to what he said that I saw him say yesterday, he argued with him. And he basically told him, I want you to lower the interest rates under the point. Okay, that's one thing. But then there's more. Okay, so what is happening financially? Well, the big, beautiful bill, he's trying to get it all approved by July the 4th. Why July the 4th? Because they want to have a big celebration. Well, could that big celebration be a big new financial system coming on board on about or around just before or just after? Could it be that he wants to see that big, beautiful bill all approved before he does the new financial system? And talking about the new financial system, okay, so if we get a new Federal Reserve System, and isn't it interesting that BRICS says it's going live? It's announced it. July 6 and 7, they're having a big BRICS meeting. Coming out of that meeting, they could come out and say, BRICS, the BRICS currency is live. And we, a few days before, just passed the big, beautiful bill. Once that's passed and Trump knows he can sign it, Trump knows he's going to have the money to do all the things he wants to do. So if you back up and look at everything that's happening, and a lot of the prophecies that few ministries can bring to you, a prophecy club, maybe nothing happens. Maybe nothing happens. Maybe it's just an innocent military parade. Maybe all the complaining over the ICE arrests in Los Angeles, Chicago, Atlanta, and all the other, maybe it all calms down. But remember that the NoKings.com has 1,500 protests planned for Saturday. Maybe nothing happens, but maybe something big does happen. Now, a little bit of good news in all of this. 2021, Dana Coverstone was told that there is going to be a great harvest. The great harvest is about to arrive. There's about to be an incredible harvest, an incredible amount of fruit to be brought into the kingdom. There's not going to be enough people to lead all of them to the Lord. Now, this is a very interesting one, and I've covered the whole thing before. Rachel Donnelly, May 3rd, 2025. The first vision I saw was a global collapse. The first vision opened as I was standing on the edge of River City. I saw people flooding the sidewalks, crowding in front of banks. Did you catch that? Yelling, crying, pounding their fists and on locked doors. The line stretched for blocks. Some held checkbooks, debit cards, even passports, but none of it mattered anymore because their bank accounts had vanished. Phones displayed empty balances. ATMs were offline. Even credit cards were being declined as source. So what happens once the bankers, the international bankers, the most evil people on the planet, the ones that worship Moloch and Baal, once they see the massive arrests start happening, so that
Shawnee, how do you ground your pool? I didn't know you could do that.
they just turn off all of the banks. Could that happen? Sure could. I didn't understand what I was saying at first. Then Jesus says, this is the fall of the global system. Shane warned and many others have said that's coming. Now let's jump to Brandon Biggs, April 24. I was praying and I saw a flagpole with a $100 bill flying up as a flag, and Dan Coverstone saw the same thing. I saw it change to digital code. It was digital, like crypto writing on it. Could it be that the banks close Saturday? I'm just guessing. Banks close this Saturday, and then shortly after July the 4th, when the big new bill, beautiful bill is signed, all of a sudden we come out with a new system. Now, that seems too soon to me.
Wow, Stan, that's a giant leap that the banks are going to do that this Saturday.
But I can't guarantee it's not going to happen. I said, Lord, what are you showing me? He said, the dollar is about to turn into a digital dollar, and it'll be worth half what it is now.
I think Stan's always about half right. He gets a few things wrong.
Showed me all the banks seized the money the second time, seized the money inside of them. It was like a bail-in. Now let's go back to Rachel Donnelly. It wasn't just that this is this. Okay, so this one continues here. It was just an economic crash. It was something bigger, more permanent. A new financial order began to rise from the ashes, and I saw billboards changed overnight, announcing a digital identity system that promised peace of mind. Now, frankly, I think it's too early for this. I think we've got probably another year or two, but I can't guarantee that. Security and freedom of chaos. People rushed to register without question. No one asked where it came from. No one asked where the money came from. They just wanted safety. The most heartbreaking part was that I saw churches joining in, pastors encouraging the congregations to sign up. Believers, people who had worshiped and prayed for years, were now standing in line with everyone else, thinking they were just adapting to the new normal. Well, remember, Jesus said, come ye out from among them, be ye separate. But see, a lot of the churches have not really separated themselves.
Hello.
I turned to Jesus and asked, don't they see what this is? He looked at me with sadness in his eyes and said, this is the first sign, and it will arrive when the world thinks it has recovered. Okay, so again, it sounds like it's too soon for this big financial system to change yet. I hope so. Continuing, but I'm going to skip part of it. The second vision says old flags were lowered and replaced with new ones that carried unfamiliar symbols. When would be the best time to come out with a new constitution, a new flag, and a new name? Well, I would think it would be sometime after the military has arrested a bunch of people. But maybe not. Again, I can't guarantee. Okay, now let's go to the rest of Brandon Biggs' prophecy. We'll skip this first page. But here's what he said. Look at the blue. Then he showed me the banks all went bankrupt. All the money that was in the banks, whether you were rich or poor, the banks seized it all. All the money in the banks was seized. It was now the property of the bank. I don't know how, but somehow they seized all of the money into the banks. People lost it all. It's hard to believe that would happen this weekend. It's not hard to believe that it's coming, though. Loans you have on your house, your cars, everything, I saw that they took all of it. They called it a debt jubilee because they couldn't foreclose and take everybody's houses and everybody's cars because the dollar crashed. So they just wiped it all out and created a whole new digital platform. They created a new digital dollar.
Sounds like Satan's 50 Jubilee when all the land's returned back to its owner. They're doing their Satan version.
I don't want to believe it's coming this weekend. But again, I can't rule it out. The Lord showed me lines of people standing at Target stores trying to get food. They weren't dressed like they were in poverty-looking clothes. They were still in nice clothes. It was like the money had just left suddenly. It was like just it happened overnight. That's what all of them say. It happens without warning. It happens. Well, as a matter of fact, to tell you the truth, I went down to the bank and I got some cash out of the bank, specifically because of what I see coming in the newspaper headlines. There was hardly anything left in the stores, people waiting just to get whatever they could. I could see them in a single file line stretched forever. He showed me certain cryptocurrencies that would go up in value. He showed me certain things that would happen with gold and silver. He showed me the euro. The euro would be in trouble because of what was going on with Europe and this Ukraine war. And I was all going to happen like dominoes falling one after another. Now, who's this Brandon Biggs? He's the guy that saw Trump shot in the right ear 3 months before it happened. Now, what does Dana Coverstone say? So this is back in 2020. He saw that they stopped making coins. What happened about 3 weeks ago? They stopped making pennies. Now, what that means is we're probably going to start seeing the pennies, the nickels, dimes, all of the coins and all of the paper, all of that's going away to a new digital dollar based upon what looks like a cell phone. So now let's talk about the new republic, new name, new flag. According to one lady, sent me this copy, and she says this is what the new flag is going to look like. Still 50 stars, but they're not in line, they're in a circle. And I'm going to skip part of this, but this is from Barry Wunsch, Strategic Plans for the Republic. He said, I saw a set of ornate gold binders labeled Strategic Plans for the Republic. God-loving, God-fearing men and women gathered here, and we're working on the rebirth of the Republic of the United States of America. I saw that there was a collapse coming, and they were ready to go when the time came to do so. The corporation of the all capital United States of America was bankrupt. It's been bankrupt for now almost 10 years, along with the Federal Reserve. Okay, see, again, Trump is not pleased with this Jerome Powell, this Federal Reserve chairman. He won't lower the interest rate. He talked about it yesterday. No, I guess it's today, this morning, in detail. Now let's jump to another one. 2024 Barry Wunsch. I was driving, the Lord opened a screen before me. The screen was 1776. I knew this was clearly the year 1776. Then I saw 2024. Both of these dates merged, became one. What's it saying? It's saying that a new nation, as one started in 1776, a new nation is about to start today in 2024. Wait a minute, Stan, we haven't heard about this. It didn't start in 2024. Well, we didn't hear about it in 2024. Didn't mean some of the paperwork wasn't signed to get us started. I knew by the Spirit of God that what took place in 1776 was going to be surpassed in history, but what is being released and happening right now in 2024, it cannot be stopped. I saw truth and justice being released. I saw cities on fire, retaliation and conflict as authorities moved in to do what they had to do. Is that what's going on now? I saw a plethora of military and law enforcement taking massive action to arrest and contain these evil ones who were responsible for every inhumane action and corrupt deed. Justice would not be stopped. Back up and look at what's going on. You got to ask yourself, what's going on? Okay, and then there's the whole Iran deal. I'm not even talking about that. But right now, it looks like there's a high probability that Israel's about to attack Iran. So what happens if all of this takes place this weekend? So as we are arresting massive numbers.
Diane, you remember the Illuminati card game from 1996? They had a rogue candidate and it was yelling enough is enough, and it was Trump's mouth. So he's a rogue candidate. He's controlled.
There's some bad people in America. Israel's over there taking out Iran's nuclear facilities. Now let's go back to Barry Wunsch. I was then shown flags being lowered in the USA and other nations globally, not just the USA. Babylonian governments were being dealt with internationally. New kingdom governance was being released. Many would be raising new flags. In the days to come, nations coming under the lordship of the Lord God Almighty. Barry Wunsch again. People were gathering, big gatherings, little gatherings, and everything in between. But the tone was the same. That was very standing with the Lord, this justice and the allegiance to the United States of America and to the Republic, for which it stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. I realized what I was seeing before my eyes was the rebirthing of a new nation with a new name, a new flag, probably a new constitution too, called the Republic of the United States of America. He's not the only one that's seen that. Coming into godly biblical kingdom governments for the nation. Now let's jump to
Diane, do you remember he was in the White House when he was in last time, and there was about 15 people around him, and he said, this is the calm before the storm. And then months later, COVID happened. So you're right, he knew it was coming.
To Rachel Donnelly again. What'd she say? She says, as the vision faded, I felt trembling under my feet, and I was shown the second event. At first, it looked like war bombs were dropping, tanks rolling through the streets, people screaming, fleeing. But then something changed. The explosion stopped. I saw hands shaking. Leaders from different countries were smiling for the cameras. It looked like peace had finally come. But Jesus leaned close and whispered, watch closely. Now, I think what that was just saying is what's about to start this weekend. I looked again and saw what was hidden behind the smiles. They weren't peace deals born from love or repentance. They were born from ambition, manipulation, and fear. They were born because they were enemies of generations. Now, old flags were lowered and replaced with new ones that carried unfamiliar symbols. Cover stone. I'm going to skip right to it here. Fires all over America's cities are on lockdown. Flags that were half-mast began to fade into smoke, and there were American military groups on the ground directing traffic. How many of these do I have to show you? I'm saying, ask Jesus into your heart. Get yourself prepared for those things that are coming.
Yeah.
We're having a prophecy, healing, and deliverance conference.
Oh, it didn't load. Hang on, guys.
Across the community, there's disagreement. Some people say that.
Hang on, guys. Just looking for someone on. There it is.
Emergency martial law alert. This is not just about immigrants. We all need to be on high alert the next couple of days because it's about to get ugly in the United States. That is a Marine attack helicopter seen flying over Los Angeles just today, built for extreme moments in extreme environment. This is a national emergency martial law alert. This is not just about immigrants. You'll find the deeper picture out today. But there's something else much larger activating behind this right now that we need to investigate so that we can know exactly what we're about to face these next coming days and months. It started months ago when I found out that the national emergency wasn't just that, it was the Insurrection Act of 1807 that was being declared, which the United States military could be deployed inside the United States to stop insurrection and civil disorder. And what's even more crazy, 4 months ago, my ex-military source came out and warned us that some disturbing things was about to go down. There's been a lot of Black Hawks going around in some missions inside the U.S., and it can't just be about just rounding up immigrants. It has to be something bigger. Do you know anything else about these scenarios at hand?
What I've heard is it's practice scenarios for deporting people they think are a threat to the establishment.
It's not just like normal people, obviously, it's not a threat. So you're saying...
Well, I honestly, it's yes, for your average citizens. I'm not trying to be a fearmonger, but yes, that's it.
And now we get stuff happening like this.
This is what it's come to. A U.S. citizen is being held in a detention center by ICE. Not a resident, not a green card holder, not even someone who had applied for citizenship and gotten it, like as a grown-up, which would be valid if he had. No, he was born here in the state of Georgia.
And listen, you don't need to be a protester to get rounded up or attacked potentially, because
with the BankWest multi-use virtual card, you can set a spending limit, which means less time worrying about.
The next story shows you
the raiding. They started bringing people out in vans. Once they started doing that, that's when everybody knew, what was going on. And everybody was there in the traffic jam. Everybody, right? You're stuck in your car, in your vehicle. When they saw us looking at them doing all that, that's when they started throwing tear gas.
You said who was behind you?
Behind us, there was a woman and her young daughter. She was around 13. I kept in touch with them, and as we speak, she's in the hospital because the tear gas bomb hit her right in the face.
Let her go! 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 She's a U.S. citizen.
It's okay. It's okay. Look, it's okay. 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 It's gonna feel spicy. I know. It's okay. It's okay.
And next, something that you might not know about a clause that ICE has that they can come after anybody in any given moment. It ain't even ICE, it's the FBI at this point.
All right, let's talk about something that should shock every American. Did you know that even if you're a U.S. citizen, you can still be detained by ICE just because you look like you might not belong here, whatever that means? And under the law, ICE agents are allowed to detain people based on what they think is probable cause that someone is in the country illegally. But here's the kicker. These are civil arrests, not criminal. That means they don't even need a judge's warrant. They can just make the call themselves using what's called an administrative warrant, something ICE writes up on its own and is not signed by a judge.
It goes so far that even this scenario happened. Okay, now that we expose the corrupt enforcement, there is other sides to this story that is something much larger happening that is a sleeper cell activation. A citizen militia activated by telling people to organize and prepare. Then a Craigslist post came out 4 days ago in Los Angeles saying it would activate a unit when the situation demands it. The next thing that's strange, they set up these bricks right before the scenario started to happen in a specific location. Now, what was this location they set it up in? So we looked closer, and Alondra Boulevard was the street that's going to give us signs and clues later. But Home Depot was right across the street where the actual bricks was at. It seems that these could have been forklifted from Home Depot and bought from them as well. In the street Avondale, that's positioned right next to it, we found out this. The organizers was right across the street from Home Depot on Alondra Boulevard, which confirms the fact. But this is what makes it a little bit more strange. They flew a helicopter in there, and then they started doing all of this.
Sorry, it's a surreal sight. This Black Hawk moved in just in the last few minutes from the Border Patrol, landing at that Homeland Security office on the Paramount side, right next to the Home Depot. And
I never knew that, Diane. I do like this guy. JWT's channel is.
they are unloading this huge helicopter with, I mean, just boxes and boxes, dozens of boxes of ammunitions, less lethal weaponry. You see these tanks with flammable labels on the side, one after another, an entire shipment, as if they were getting ready for some kind of a major battle. I mean, it really has to be said, this is a remarkable sight in the middle of a suburban street here.
It makes me think, okay, those bricks over by Home Depot is not even that far from there. Was it somebody on the inside paying for those bricks? Or did the people just know that, oh, their offices is over there, we're gonna get these bricks and we're gonna attack them with these bricks from this location that's the closest? You let me know what you think in the comments.
They'll take backpacks, and the backpack will have a cinder block in it. They have a hammer, and they'll break up the cinder block and use that, pass it around to throw at officers.
I've seen a step that the sleeper cells are going to start doing to start disrupting parts of the United States. Get prepared for this. And with more critical information for everybody here just right now. So there's this map that's just come out talking about across the United States as we speak. There are going to be hundreds of more protests, activations. This is a sleeper cell agenda here. I'm going to show you this map. Soon people are going to be routed up around the patriot. I'm going to go fight for America and stuff. You know, all right, let's listen to what a former cop says about the psychological operation.
All right, so let me explain what I believe is happening and why they want you in a civil war. So in the next couple weeks, these are being planned right now, very well funded, very well organized. At a city near you, we're going to have a riot. It's not just protest, full-on riots, trying to suck us in so that all the patriots are going to go, and then we're going marching right into their trap for the civil war that they want. So what's the answer as hell breaks loose and violence ensues throughout these cities? Are we going to go save their cities? They're already gone. So get a food storage, get right with God, get out of major cities when it starts getting bad. Do not fight with these people. That's exactly what they want. It's a trap. It's a trap. It's a trap. I promise you.
Now, I know a lot of y'all are going to take that advice, but I know it's going to be some of us who's like, oh, we got to fight eventually. And good luck to you, because secondly, the Marine attack helicopters coming in, we could see a deeper phase of martial law start to hit, because it could get gruesome because the sleeper cell attacks are on. One of my viewers here caught something in the atmosphere that a plane put up that is very highly strange.
In 2025, owning a pet will be hassle-free. No more worries about cleaning up after them, no concerns about pet illnesses, and no fear of them causing chaos at home. This AI-powered smart pet offers incredibly realistic companionship, simulating 98% of real tactile feedback.
Oh, I like that doggy. I want to buy one. That's why I watched the ad.
At first glance, it looks like nothing. She's very smart, and family comes from military background. And she took a screenshot of this, and then she put it in Google Translate. And when it translated what they said in the clouds, this is what it said. This is how militaries relay information to each other all throughout history, with codes and writing in the atmosphere. The question is, the perpetrator is who? The area she's in actually is in the Carolinas. And I showed you earlier in the video, North Carolina, there was an IED found June 2nd. This writing in the sky was found 6 days officially after that, because that's when she sent the email to me, was June 8th. This could mean that they were activating ground troops, preparing them before they were going to do this nationwide situation. So there is active searches for these agent provocators or sleeper cells, but here's what we can do. Firstly, I'm contacting my law enforcement source to get us more information on the writing in the sky to figure out what this messaging could further implicate for all of us.
Yeah.
Secondly, you need to stick here because we have a live.
Yeah, Diane, I'm about an hour up the coast from Sydney, so it's sort of a seaside country town. So I'm glad I'm away from Sydney.
Active members sharing what's happening in their community, sharing in your location. It could be across any of these continents, California, anywhere across the United States. We have people everywhere willing to give you information. So you need to subscribe here because we'll be telling you whether you need to evacuate.
I got his latest, guys. I'm going to hang up. Got to go down the shops and do something. That was it there.
The riots definitely was a cover for a massive emergency plan.
Okay, it's 2 days old. It's his latest.
They're telling her to move.
And even if we're not getting directly attacked, there are still chemical spills and pandemics.
Absolutely, no one is even noticing this, so we need to go deeper into this so we can get the full picture of what's really about to happen here. Something else major has brewed up as the curfew goes into effect.
Billy, fuck off. She's not doing anything. Come on, we're moving.
If you have to find a way to your apartment or your house and you in this situation, find another way around. Because it looked like they're just popping people, no questions asked. But strangely enough, as all this is happening, what's happening behind the scenes is an aerobiological containment plane laying in wait in GA for some strange reason.
Wow.
This lines up with something huge that during the riots actually plays into a major plan. This was concerning because I've seen potable water only. The military's mission is going longer or there's water attacks potentially happening. 2 weeks ago, CDC put out an emergency water supply plan letting us know something is coming. So now we know more about the next big move. The biological plane in Cartersville, GA is laying in wait for something that is coming. And this is apparent because they released this right before the riot.
Good night, Shawnee. God bless.
Why do they need to revise different methods about the biological mask weeks before the LA riot? New time limitations introduced said, do not use masks beyond 6 to 8 hours of chemical exposure. It expanded approved masks in the event of biological, radiological, nuclear, and chemical attacks. So the three agencies that are connected to this is CDC, DOD, who's in the riots right now, and Department of Homeland Security, who's also in the riots right now. And just 2 days ago, we saw this happening with somebody in the military. Now this leads us to this huge plan that FEMA and CDC pre-scripted for civil unrest. But first, people have shown me something that looks biological that's being released. One of my viewers sent me this photo after. I cannot stress this enough. Stay out of the rain. One of my viewers sent these photos. Absolutely disgusting. His son actually caught this on camera, a photo, a sack of rain full of freaking parasites. You can see them right there. Look closely. And they're doing this now.
Think about that, guys. They're spraying you with that right now.
Because it's the perfect time during the riots. And nobody's going to be looking at this because everything else is happening. Which leads us to the FEMA plan and CDC plan during riots and unrest. Nobody's even noticing. Now, we got to try to figure out if that's actually happening right now. So one of the more super abnormal stories that somebody goes and gets themselves tested. And
there's some kind of mystery respiratory thing going on right now that is not COVID that I have been stricken by. And I want to talk about why it actually matters that it isn't COVID. I got it from having to fly for work over 2 weeks ago. I have been sick as a dog for 10 days now, but I've had coughing so hard I threw up. I've had fever. I have extreme fatigue. And I have tested negative on 5 different COVID tests on 5 different days during that 10-day period. 2 different brands. 2 of those tests were combo COVID flu brands. I also don't have flu A or B, and I'm negative for strep.
Is she the only one experiencing this in the month of June? And this guy, he tried to go and get like a hazmat suit, and apparently,
when they done that fog thing about 6 months ago, when it was supposedly fog, that you could see little white banners when you looked at it under a microscope, they're actually letting it out the box now. They're giving everyone two barrel shooting.
Now I was wondering where did this rash come from and what was it doing, but it didn't give more context on that. So the 2025 mask updated requirements was strange because then you had the Colorado Police Department come out just today and start saying,
yeah, Diane, I love her back. The cute doggy.
Sleeper cells are on active attack right now. So I believe they're going to start targeting specifically, and it could just be areas to toxically take people out. So don't be surprised if more attacks like this start happening.
Over here, boys. Oh, shit.
And the reason why this is most effective to disrupt populations is because you can then shut down and the reason we know that they have more targets is because the paid protesters who are in this stuff are saying this.
When I was out in Los Angeles protesting the ICE deportations for the past few days, besides the fact that I got paid $150 to do so per day, I kept seeing signs everywhere that this was being funded by somebody much higher than the person that I had met. For instance, they would give us certain streets or certain targets to go to, and on those streets, there would be pallets of things that could cause destruction to the community. I am not joking. For instance, you turn a corner, boom, there's a pallet of bricks. Oh, that's convenient. Let's destroy the community. And y'all know me, I'm a good guy, but I truly do not care that much about the ICE deportations. I just wanted that $150 a day. But I got to thinking, man, whoever is funding this must really hate this country. So as time goes on while we're protesting and things evolve, they evolve in a lot more violent nature. For instance, instead of there being a pallet of bricks on the target neighborhood or target street that we are protesting on, it'll be a pallet of flammable objects. So it was at that moment that I saw that pallet of Molotov cocktails sitting on the ground. I thought, man, should I really be doing?
And guys, if Trump was fair dinkum, he'd investigate who put them pallets there and arrest them. Let's be honest. He can get his underlings to do that because that is a treasonous act. And he can arrest them for treason.
On this, like, this is bad news. This is going to get way worse.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not from Los Angeles or live in Los Angeles, so I don't really care about destroying that community, but I'm American after all. Like, this is not good. Moral to the story is there are certain people in our government that wants us to go burn the local police station down, but in actuality, the corruption is at a much higher level.
And it's not just a biological scenario. It's not just the hidden agenda behind the riots. Washington, D.C. is now burning up because the threat level just increased, and we're probably going into wartime activations.
What the fuck? Get back. Get back.
This is what you need to know. In your jurisdiction, in each area across the United States, there are 56 FBI field offices. So whenever it's biological or whatever event happens, they're going to be designated to go into these cities, in these areas, and investigate the population, investigate the situation. And how do we know that they're not going to be tyrannical and start ripping people out of their houses or doing all types of crazy stuff? If they do that, they're going to see something they never wanted to see. But here's what shocks and shake the chicken right off your plate that you really need to listen to. When this outbreak happens, we won't be notified at all. They'll be sitting there on their hands talking about protocol. And meanwhile, we're already getting hit with it. That's why you don't get information unless it's from channels like this. And on May 30th, right before the freaking protest happened, the head of the freaking National Biodefense Board said we're under biological freaking attack. And nobody's noticing that right now because now everybody has spread out, and they said in big crowds is where this thing would be the best to circulate. And then after all this is over, we'll see the actual intensity increase, and they'll tell us, oh, well, now we got to do X, X, and Y to keep you safe.
Okay, what is this sickness that is going around in, it's not just our town, but like Oregon, I guess. But I've had this for like probably 5, 6